The sun's going down and the temperature's dropping fast. You need heat, you need to cook, you need fire. So you gather sticks, stack them in a pyramid, strike your rod, and watch the flames climb. Beautiful, warm, bright, and visible from 3 miles away. That column of smoke rising into the sky, it's a signal flare advertising your exact location. That flickering orange glow, it's a beacon in the dark that says, supplies here, resistance minimal. You're not camping, you're running a lighthouse in hostile territory. But what the Plains Indians knew centuries ago is that you don't need a bonfire, you need a furnace. One that burns hot, uses half the wood, produces dramatically less smoke, and from 50 feet away, looks like absolutely nothing. It's called a Dakota Fire Hole, and it's the difference between staying hidden and becoming a statistic. Your regular campfire is a tactical disaster. The light can be seen for miles, especially from high ground. The smoke hangs in the air like a flag, and its smell is a scent trail anyone can follow. Even the sound, the crackle and pop, carries on a quiet night a breadcrumb trail leading straight to you. The Dakota Fire Hole defeats all 3 problems using nothing but a shovel, some sticks, and physics. Here's how you build one. First, location is everything. This is about survival, not convenience. Look for low ground, depressions, dry creek beds, the base of a slope. Let the terrain itself hide your position. Avoid ridge lines where you'll be silhouetted against the sky. And check the soil. You need something you can dig. Hard clay is brutal. Sandy loam is ideal. Here's the critical part. Avoid peat soil, thick leaf litter, or anywhere near tree roots. A fire hole can ignite organic material underground, starting a smoldering forest fire you can't see or control. Pick clean dirt away from vegetation. Once you have your spot, you'll dig 2 holes. The first is the fire chamber. Dig a hole roughly 10 inches across and about a foot deep. Think of a narrow flower pot sunk into the earth. Widen the bottom just a bit so it's broader than the top. This concentrates the heat and creates a stable base for your coals. If the soil is crumbly, you can line it with flat, dry rocks from upland areas. Never use river rocks. Trapped moisture can turn them into grenades when heated. Pick clean dirt away from vegetation. Once you have your spot, you'll dig a second, smaller hole. This is your air intake, maybe 6 inches across and 8 inches deep. Now for the genius part, and the hardest part. You're going to dig a tunnel connecting the 2 holes underground. You're carving a horizontal passage through the dirt, linking the air intake to the base of the fire chamber. The tunnel should be about 4 inches in diameter, big enough for air to flow freely. This is slow, frustrating work. You're digging blind, working from both ends until you feel the breakthrough. But don't skip it. The tunnel is everything. What you've just built is a forced air furnace that runs on natural convection. Before you waste any tinder, test the airflow. Put your hand over the fire chamber and blow hard into the intake tunnel. You should feel the air pressure push against your hand. If you don't, your tunnel's blocked. Clear it. Once it's working, drop your tinder into the fire chamber, add kindling, and light it. Now crouch over the air intake and blow gently. The air rushes through the tunnel and hits the base of the fire from below. Here's the magic. As the fire burns, it heats the air inside the chamber. Hot air rises. This creates a pressure difference that pulls cool, fresh air in through the intake tunnel to replace it. You've created a self-sustaining natural draft, feeding oxygen directly to the hottest part of the fire. The result is a hotter, more efficient burn, up to 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. The wood burns almost completely, turning to fine ash with dramatically less smoke. For fuel, use dry hardwoods like oak or hickory. They burn hot and clean. Look for dead standing wood, not logs from the damp ground. This design is superior in every tactical sense. The smoke is minimal because the combustion is so complete. What little smoke is produced, mostly from initial moisture, exits at ground level and disperses immediately instead of rising in a visible column. The light is contained. The earth itself acts as a blackout curtain. At night, you can sit right next to it and be nearly invisible to anyone 50 feet away. The fire is protected from the wind. In fact, wind actually helps by increasing the draft, making the fire burn even hotter. And you'll use about half the wood you'd need for a surface fire. That means less time gathering fuel, less movement, less noise, less evidence you were ever there. When you're done, you just collapse the holes, fill them with the dirt you saved, and scatter some leaves over it. 5 minutes of cleanup, and it's like you were never there. No black scar on the earth advertising where you stopped. Of course, let's be realistic. This technique hides you from human eyes. A thermal drone would still see the heat signature instantly. The Plains Indians were dealing with enemies using visual observation, and that's what this defeats. They developed this system out of absolute necessity. They lived in a surveillance environment where enemy scouts and U.S. cavalry patrols were actively hunting for them. A visible fire could get your entire group killed. The Dakota Hole allowed them to stay warm, cook meals, and remain undetected in open country. It was survival technology, born from brutal necessity. Imagine you're 3 days into a grid-down scenario. You need to cook, but a visible fire is an invitation for the wrong kind of company. You dig a Dakota hole in your backyard, tucked behind a shed. The flames are invisible from the street. The smoke scatters at your feet. You're warm, fed, and your house looks abandoned. That's the difference. So go outside and dig one. Seriously, grab a shovel or a strong stick and practice. Time yourself. Experience the frustration of connecting that tunnel so you know what to expect when it matters. Build a fire in it. See for yourself how little smoke it makes, how invisible it is at night. Learn the skill now while you have time to make mistakes, because when survival depends on staying hidden, that ancient method might be exactly what keeps you undetected and alive.